So with the state of the economy being the way it is and cost of living being so high, many people are wondering, is it still possible to build wealth with a regular job, right? Because obviously for a lot of people, a sign of wealth is obviously being able to purchase a home, right? They see that as the American dream. And for a lot of people, especially the younger generation, are saying, all right, I can't even afford to buy a home. So I guess there's no point, right? Since I can't afford to buy a home, then I guess there's just no possible way to build wealth here in this country, right? And that's not a mindset you want to have, right? Because buying a home is not the end all be all to success or just wealth in life, right? There's other ways of building wealth without even purchasing a home, right? There's plenty of wealthy people that don't even probably own their home. They rent a lot. And I think for a lot of people, especially the younger generation, overall, the fact that they can't purchase a home is just a sign that maybe it's just not possible, right? And you can see that for a lot of people when it comes to their jobs. The fact that wages aren't keeping up with, it's hard for wages to keep up with inflation, and for a lot of people, they see this and they just have that defeatist mentality. So to answer the question, right, is it still possible to build wealth with a regular job? Me personally, yes, right? But the question is, like, are you willing to do what's necessary in order to do that? Right? And what I mean by that is that, are you willing to be disciplined, right? Are you willing to be committed? Okay, because it's going to require you to be very, when it comes to your money, you have to be very disciplined with how you handle your money, right? Spending below your means. Okay, and for a lot of people, they lack this discipline, right? Because obviously the first thing you do, especially when you go to college, and hopefully, most people, they have a bunch of school debt. One thing they do is, once they get out of college, one of the first things they do is, like, they get a place of their own, right? Whether it's renting, usually when it's renting, or they'll probably try to buy a home, but usually they'll rent it, right? And then what they do, they buy maybe a new car, or they buy some furniture, or they just start buying things. They start racking up expenses, right? And they probably using their credit card to do that. So now on top of the student loan debt, they're also racking up credit card debt. And we all know that the quickest way to kill wealth is through having debt. Right? Instead of paying yourself, you're paying someone else the money that you're going to use to help build that wealth. And a lot of people do that, right? I've done it myself. You're like, all right, I'm just graduated, got some money, got a new job. Now I can spend that money on the things I want. And you start racking up expenses, you start racking up debt. And then by the time you know it, you're living paycheck to paycheck. Right? So if you're going to build wealth with your job, then you need to make sure that you're disciplined. Now, and the thing with this, it takes time, right? Because obviously, in a perfect world, right, if you're managing your money properly, what you're doing is, obviously, hopefully, you don't have a lot of debt when it comes to school, or maybe you miss school altogether, and you skip school altogether. You go straight into the workforce and you start making money. Now, if you start obviously building up that wealth, right, building up your skills, trying to develop your skills so you can make more money, and you start investing in the stock market, over time that money is going to build, it's going to compound, it's going to you'll make money over time, right? Now the thing is, me personally, it's a slow way to build wealth, right? And not that there's anything wrong with it. It's something. It depends on how when it comes to building wealth, it depends on how you want to do it. Do you want to build it? You want it to be fast or slow? And when I mean fast, I'm not talking about something easy, right? Like, there's faster ways to build wealth rather than using your regular job, and it's my preferred method because, like I said, using your job, it takes time. Like you said, you're going to invest in the stock market. Maybe you buy a little real estate here and there, then over time, you'll make some money. Me personally, I think the fastest way to do that is through a business, right? Because obviously with a job, you're capped, right? You're capped with your salary or hourly wage, and then every year you're hoping to get an increase of 3%. But then you hope that you don't, obviously have an issue when it comes to the economy where inflation the way it is, and your income is not, your wages are not keeping up with inflation. So, or you worry about a downturn, a recession, and you lose your job. Right? For me, when it comes to starting your own business, you are in control of your income, right? Depending on the type of business you have, you dictate how much money you can make, depending on the kind of system that you build, depending on the product or service that you're rendering, or whatever system that you're in place in order to multiply that money, right? I think it's a quicker way. Obviously, it takes time to build that business, but for me, it's worth it because it gives me something to do, right? It gives me purpose, right? Something that I'm building on my own, and I have more control over my financial future compared to a job where your future is basically in the hands of your employer, right? And they can let you go at any time depending on the situation. And for me, I think it's a better I think it's a better alternative overall. And if you're someone that's probably thinking of doing it, obviously I wouldn't just say just jump into it. I mean, I would say jump into it if you want to, but it depends on your situation. But if you have a job, right, that's a smart thing to do. Is like, get a job, work, and then on the side you work on that business on the side until that job can then replace the income from your current job, right? And for me, that's the quickest way to build wealth, right? Like, there's so much money that you make. I remember starting when I did my affiliate marketing business, and obviously it took me about 18 months for it to start making 5 figures. And once you do that, then the money starts rolling in, and there's just so much you can do. I was able to pay off debt, right? Pay off credit card debt. Right, I was able to get my finances in order. Right, it just helps you build wealth much more quicker. Get your finances in order, and then you can start investing. You can do other things, right? And I think once I did that, I was like, there's no turning back. There's no way I can go back to a regular job, right? Where my income is capped off, right? And then I gotta wait for maybe a 3% income. I was like, there's no way. Once you get a taste of that, being able to create money from adding value or starting a business, then you never want to go back, right? And for me, it was just like, all right, this just makes sense. This just makes sense. And especially with the way the economy is right now, and so many people struggling with the fact that, it's just like they don't feel like they're getting paid enough, regardless of whether they have the skills or not. I always say, like, okay, if you're not making enough money, then maybe you need to increase your skills so then you can make more money. Okay? But with a business, or a side hustle, whatever you're doing, you have an ability to increase your skills, better yourself, and then help improve your business so that you can make more money for yourself. And for me, that's the best path to go, especially if you're trying to build wealth long term. Like I said, the job takes a long time, right? You can obviously do the right thing and make sure you live within your means. Okay, make sure you're not getting a bunch of debt. Invest in the stock market. Usually an ETF. In the S&P 500, invest in maybe a little bit, some assets here and there, and then over time that will grow. If you stay disciplined, then you'll eventually do that. But for a lot of people, we live in a instant gratification society, right? We want everything now, right? We want to enjoy our youth now. So we buy the cars, we go on the vacations, we buy the nice clothes, we buy all these things, racking up expenses, and then wonder why we're still living paycheck to paycheck. Nobody wants to have that discipline to say, all right, you know what? I'll sacrifice a few years of my life in order to live, hopefully in my 30s or whatever it is, that you live a life in the future where you don't have to worry about money, or your money coming from a job or an employer, right? You get to dictate your income. And I think for a lot of people, that's where I think people have to develop that discipline, right? It's not fun, it's not easy, right? It's not something that for the faint of heart. It requires a lot of sacrifice, right? Not having fun, hanging out with friends. And I think for a lot of people, they don't want to do that. It's so worth it. If you ask for a lot of people that are running their business or that have a business, that it's so worth it, right? It does take a lot of sacrifice, but if you're willing to go through that sacrifice, it's definitely worth it in the long term, right? Especially when you're able to command or dictate the type of money that you make for yourself. And like I said, is it still possible? Yes, but it requires a lot of discipline. And are you willing to do that? And for a lot of people, most people, they're not, right? And it's those that are willing to develop that discipline that come out successful. And even if that's without what you want to do, maybe if you're going to build wealth just using a regular job, then obviously make sure you have a career that's going to make you a lot of money, right? That's going to make you a lot of money. Just a regular job is going to be hard. It's going to be difficult, right? You're going to require a lot of discipline. It's going to take forever. If you got a good career and you got your debt low, then it's definitely possible. It might take a little bit longer, but it depends on how quickly you want to build that wealth, right? If you want to use the job, go the route of a job. It's a slow process, but with discipline and commitment, you can do it. Or you can go the route of starting your business where you can increase your income exponentially, right? And get there a little bit faster, right? It requires a lot of sacrifice, a little discipline, but you can definitely do it, right? So those are my thoughts. I'm interested to hear your thoughts. Make sure to leave a comment down below, hit the like button, share. If you haven't done so already, make sure to subscribe, right? So guys, take care, have a good one. Later.